I'll never donate to a fucking homeless dude on the street. I've got 200 matches pending. I mean, I've got matches that I couldn't fuck with fucking 10 dicks. All right, lads, we're back. I wrapped the phone call up. Went good. But, yeah, elaborating on what I was talking about now, what I was talking about earlier, I have a few questions that I'm going to answer. You know, one specifically I'll start with. But building off of the last point, you know, you have to... There's a reason why on my biogram, like biographies and things like that, you know, my Instagram, my Twitter, my biography is always life is but a dream. You know, if you can figure that out, you can figure those words out. I mean, it's a famous fucking... From a poet, it's a famous historian. It's a famous writer that wrote it. Essentially the guy who wrote and thought of Alice in Wonderland. You know, it's... Alice in Wonderland is quite based. Like, it's a pretty fucking based book if you've ever read it. There are several ones that are very good. I drop a lot of stuff in my Telegram announcement channel, which you should be in. It's free. You know, I drop a lot of stuff, a lot of alpha and things like that. And I can start dropping in books and things like that guys can read to expand their mind, if that's something that they want to look into. See, the reason why a lot of these autistic logical robots are destined for loserdom, because they're leaning too far into their logic. Their mind is very fucking, like, shrunken. The thing that the hippies get right is that their mind is actually quite expanded. A lot of them just are fucking lazy. They're bums. You know, most of them are fucking losers, to me. You know, it's just because they know a lot of stuff, but they can't actually implement. You know, they know a lot of things that kind of make them comfortable with being broke. It's a lot of that stuff is cope. You know, it's, you have to be all of it. If you want to be very well-rounded, you have to understand that energy is a real thing. It's not a real thing in that, you know, this channel is going to turn into some hippie commune, because that stuff is fucking dumb as well. You know, those hippies and those sort of guys end up being massive weirdos. You know, a lot of those, and then it pushes out into cult things and things like that. And a lot of cults start out, I wouldn't say in a good way, but they don't start out completely sinister. You know, they start out with an idea or a concept or something like that. And the people fall into it and don't understand that in most cases, and I would say actually all cases, it's that becomes about worshipping the leader. It's not about the cause anymore. You know, it's about the leader who is actually massively insecure. He needs this love and approval from everyone. He needs all of their validation because he's got a hollowness in him. Something is missing. And then he essentially fucks them all over, like ruins them. You know, that's because it's not enough. It's never enough. It's like the alcoholic who has one drink, and one drink was too many, and now 100 is not enough. It's like gambling. Like gambling, if you've been a problem gambler, you should never gamble again. It's like tempting fate or tempting the devil. You know, some guys I've seen where they've said, oh, I'd never try coke, or I'd never try, you know, hard drugs because I have an addictive personality. And then they do. They've known all along that they shouldn't try it. And then they try it. And then they end up addicted and fuck their whole life up. You know, sometimes you should know within yourself that there are certain things that you shouldn't do. And it's hard to, I guess, have that discipline, you know, to not do them. Some people conquer gambling. You know, they realize that it's a bit of a problem, and then they drop it off for a few years, and then they end up back into it because they tempt fate. They think that they could get themselves out of the hole twice, and then they end up losing their whole life to it. You know, it's not something that... It's like jumping out of the crocodile's mouth once, and then they think, oh, I'll just do it again because I could last time, and then they end up stuck in there. You know, you got to be very aware with that sort of stuff. I get messages fucking all the time, probably at least once a week, from people asking me how to quit gambling because they have a bad addiction. You know, Australians, a lot of Australians, it's a big thing. Like Australia itself has the worst amount of gambling losses or gambling per capita, like per person. People in Australia gamble more than people in Vegas. That's problematic. You know, per person they gamble more. That's a big fucking problem. You know, it's very heavily promoted. It's promoted on the sports betting, and sports betting is the worst because you can gamble all the time then. Like there's no rest, there's no reprieve. It can be essentially 24 hours because there are games going on in the world somewhere. You know, so it's very insidious. It's a game, something that they can lose just sitting at the kitchen table and they can drop like, all of their money for the week and you have nothing to show for it. It's very fucking dangerous. And as soon as you move your money onto the app, it no longer really feels like yours. So a lot of the time it's even easier to lose. Chips are easy to lose because essentially when you walk into the casino, they took your money from the beginning and gave you chips. It doesn't have the same value. That's the way that the mind works. If you've got a 5K chip, it's not the same as looking at 5K cash. 5K cash, you think that, I can buy all these things. You're conditioned to see that cash is important. But then they move you into chips and your mind doesn't see it the same way. So it's harder to cash out and things like that because it doesn't feel as real. So essentially guys lose their money the second that they sit down at the casino. Just because you might change some of it up at the end. On the long run, you'll always lose. That's why I don't like a lot of these influencers that promote casinos and do things like that. They essentially, in margin exchanges and crypto exchanges that do margin, like that's just gambling, that's just a coin flip. It's not something that you really have any information on. It's just a guess. You're guessing that the market's going to go up or down. You guess enough times, you'll eventually get fucked. A lot of the guys, the only people that make money in that field are people that are selling the signals and information and things like that essentially destroy their followers. So I'm drinking my gin and tonic. And that's just the thing to go down the hedonism path. I'm not one of these guys that's going to jump on here and say that, you need to be this stoic fucking religious guy and, your whole life should just be about being disciplined and all this crap. Because that's very robotic. There's a part of you that's not like that. Like the emotional side is still a real side. I see guys where lately, I see it discussed lately. I would like to think that I was the first person to discuss it, where they're afraid to even love a girl. Like the very concept of loving a girl scares the shit out of them because now they can lose. That now they can, I've discussed this a year ago, now they have something to lose, like it's on the line now. It's easier to just pump and dump girls. It's easier to just be like, I don't care. Whoever cares less wins. That's the race to the bottom, as I discussed a year ago. Now you see other people starting to discuss that it's a race to the bottom, because that shit's obvious to me. I'm always a fucking year ahead of everyone, or more. It's just how my mind works. I'm very innovative. I'm a free thinker. I think of everything deeply. I like my alone time. I like to be alone and in thought. Sometimes I'll have days where some days I'll get up and be like, I don't want to see anyone for like 2 days. And I'll just reflect and have like, deep thinking and things like that. But I can only do that because I'm already rich. Reflection kind of comes at the top of every mountain, or at least halfway or more up the journey. A lot of these hippies and, weirdos and things like that, spiritual people, their life is constant reflection, but they've done fuck all. Like they're reflecting on just loserdom, reflecting on theoretical crap and crappy relationships or some crap that doesn't matter. Reflection when someone's worth 10 or tens of millions of dollars, they can reflect because they've done something, like they've tangible value, like it's something that is big. They've built something that they can now relax if they want to reflect on, like they're earning money and things like that. But a lot of those hippies and, ayahuasca cucks and all that sort of crap, they're reflecting on fuck all, like it's just trivial stuff that they're reflecting on. The other person has all of the same things, but he doesn't reflect yet. Reflection generally comes at the end, as I've discussed. Reflecting too early and diaring and, writing all this crap can really fuck you up. Because it can fuck you up because you're always in the past. Like you're a reactor. That's why I don't believe in reaction videos. I really do them. Because whoever's reacting to me, like they're behind me. The reactor can never be in front of the person that he reacts to. Like he's waiting for the person to move and then he moves. It's like boxing. Like you're trying to counterpunch, yes. But you're eventually going to get fucked up because you can't throw them. You can only throw after they throw. So that you're going to eventually lose, so yeah, the thing with the reactions, like you can never be ahead of the person that we're reacting to. And I got a good question that I was going to elaborate on, and it was, why do guys need to be more visible? 1 second, I'll just double check exactly what it says. It says, why men need to become more visible and the common makes guys make around promoting themselves. It's a good question. I'm going to elaborate on it. I'm just going to check what's happening with my food. It's on the way here. I'll be here in 2 minutes. So I'm going to leave it downstairs to get cold, just so that I can fucking answer you guys. I've also got a boost on Tinder, which I don't usually use. But let's see how we're looking on there. 200 pending matches. So that's just how it goes with women. It's the fucking... In your 20s, it should be a fucking famine. Like, you shouldn't be fucking with these women, because most of you couldn't even support a family. Most of you guys don't have your shit together, don't even know how to fuck yet. Don't even know what the fuck you're doing with girls. Why wouldn't you just wait? I've got 200 matches pending. I mean, I've got matches that I couldn't fuck with fucking 10 dicks. And that's because I put a boost on. And not matching with fucking old pigs or anything like that. But, yeah, nonetheless. A lot of you don't understand, the saying. It's like the saying goes. The 2 cows are walking down to the paddock. Or 2 bulls are at the top of the hill. And they look down at the cows in the paddock. And the young bull says to the old bull, he's like, oh, let's go down and fuck one of them. Let's run down now and fuck one of them. Because he sees that the fence is open and that he could get access in to the cows. He's like, oh, let's go down and fuck one. And then let's run there right now and let's do it. And then the old bull goes, let's just walk down and fuck them all. Because he realizes that they can't fucking go anywhere. It's not going away. The gate's open. You can just do all of it. That's the way that it happens with women. And that's the way that it happens with most things. The harder that you push it until your value increases, you're not going to have much success. You can get, when you're at my stage, you can get a lot more with very little output. I just get it passively. I can just be on Instagram, I can just exist. And I live a life that's interesting to women. Versus a guy who's 20 years old and he has to try to do all of this crap. He's one of those dweebs reading PUA crap and talking about game and day gaming and running around the mall talking to girls. That's fucking dumb. That's such a waste of time. I was thinking this recently. It's when you're in my position, there's so many things that I can do. I can do anything in the world. I could pack up today in business class to Dubai tonight. I have probably 50 friends there. Within 8 hours, I could be partying in the best places there. I could be at Blue, Float, I could be in the Burj, I could do fucking anything. I'd be in the Lambo. I can go downstairs, jump in my Lambo and go to a resort, which I just did, a 5-star spa, and just sit and get massages all day. Get my balls sucked all day by 2 different girls. It's not fucking difficult. I've built all of that shit. I've built to be that guy. I didn't build it on tricks. I realized when I was 19 or 20, I used to read the POA crap, The Game and by, is it Neil Strauss and all of that shit? The Game and all of this crap and, the PUA forums. I wouldn't say that I really spent a lot of time on them, but I did know that they existed, and I read some of the stuff, Mystery Method. I think I read some of his shit. And it's just hilarious. Their life is the guy who built his life on tricks. It's like the Jenga puzzle. They didn't actually build the foundation. It's like building a fucking skyscraper. And they didn't build the skyscraper on a foundation. There's no foundation of money, masculinity. Money, I would say, money, having a high income skill is one part of the foundation. Something that ensures that you're never going to be homeless. It's where it begins. And then you can build out that pyramid until it ensures that, maybe you're on 500K a year or more, and that you have financial freedom, and then you can buy time. You can buy arbitrage of the fucking world. You can access different parts of the world. I come to Warsaw because I believe that it's the best in many ways. I can arbitrage the globe. I have German plates on my Lambo. And it's just so weird for me that someone comes up to me and they're like, oh, you must be German because your plates are from Germany. And I'm like, it seems like a common thing to me. Like, you know, it seems like, because I have the freedom to just be like, you know, I want to put German plates on the car. Some of my friends will be like, I want to put Dubai plates on the car. Others can be like, I want to put US plates on the car and I want to drive it around the world. But for, you know, the average person, that's just, to me, it's so bizarre when they say things like that, because, you know, I'm just arbitraging the best for tax purposes and things like that, so I don't have to pay certain taxes and costs and insurance and things like that. It's the best thing there. You know, it makes the most sense. But for others, a lot of others, they couldn't imagine it. Like, they don't understand the arbitrage and things like that, which is fine. You know, it's like playing one of those video games from the old days, or even if you played Diablo. I play Diablo sometimes. I'm level 16. I haven't really played it much. But the new one, I haven't got that far through it. But it's like when you can only see a part of the map and the rest is just all fogged out. You know, you can't see where you haven't been. You know, but as you travel more, as you get access to more money, you build your network and you learn from them. You know, you see what other people are doing and other people are doing that have money. The map opens up. You know, you can actually see the fucking map. You know, there's pretty much every city that I can go to and I know someone there. You know, and it's not someone who's a fucking pleb. Like, it's people who know the city. Like, they exist, they're known. It's probably in Warsaw. Most of the venues that I can call now and get a table anywhere. You know, not everywhere. But I'm building out more in this city, like, to be more well known. So it goes much onto what this question was, where this guy has asked me, what are the benefits of being known, and why should men, you know, get their face out there more so that people know that they exist and know who they are? And I'm not saying that every guy should do content, because I think that's a fucking bubble as well. Like, I think content is in itself in a massive bubble. Everyone's fucking trying to build content, and they're all only building content so that they can pretty much immediately monetize. They're not building it out of the love of the game. So it's not gonna come across that well. Like, they're only here to extract. They're not really here to add anything. Like, they're just like, what the fuck can I get? So I just gotta roast this girl who's just posted that. Some fucking crap. I just told this chick to stop being fucking trash. But you got to be stoic, right? You know, being a stoic man that just doesn't react to things and things like that. That's the best way to be. That's the best way to be incredibly boring to women. If you want younger women, you know, you want women in the, I'm not saying fucking underage. I'm saying obviously legal. It depends where you are. But if you want, you know, younger than you better learn to be interesting. And being this stoic rock, I'm the fucking rock in the ocean and the waves are just crashing into me. That's not a real thing. That's a real thing if you want old fucking bags, old women that want stability, because they're all fucking already had their fun. And then maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want old women that want the provider, the stoic beta provider that's, he's masculine and I just agree with what he says because I want to get shit. You know, a lot of these fucking weirdos too, these dominance guys, they're fucking nerds. Like, a lot of this, I'm just dominant, I'm this and that, you know, I just tell women what to do and they just do it. I'm very yet to see them with women that are in the 18 to 23 range. Yes, you can get boss women around if they're 30. Yes, you can tell women what to do if they're fucking 26, 27, 28. Of course they'll listen, because they're fucking very aware that their time is running out. You know, a lot of that shit doesn't work on the women that you would actually want. Like, you have to be the man. You know, you better fucking be fun. It's not just a case of, like, you know, raining money down on women either. You better be fun. You better understand that she grew up on Kim Kardashian. You better understand she watched TikToks. You better understand how to spike those fucking emotions. And not just the emotion of, oh, this guy's like, he's reliable. You know, this guy, his moods never change. He's always like this, just drifting down the river. That's not a real thing. Like, that's fucking so dumb. Every time I see these guys talk about it, it makes me cringe. And that's why I've never seen them with a younger girl. You know, I've never seen them with having much results. I've not seen really anyone having results that I would have. You know, the results that I have are very fucking different. You know, I have experiences that I can't talk about on here, like all of the time. You know, shit that would blow people's minds, I would assume. You know, I can do pretty much anything that I fucking want in life. But that's only because I built out the foundation. I built everything out. You know, like I said, you would say that the high income skill is one, having money is one, you know, having financial freedom, which means that you can arbitrage the globe, like you can start to move around based on what you want. You can start to be like, oh, I don't like the way that Australia is going or the way that the US is going, so I'm going to fucking move. Like, I'm not going to be one of those retards that just sits there and complains nonstop. Like, the best thing that you can do is withdraw. You got to understand that you're not going to change shit. Like I've said before, a lot of you think that it matters who's president. Like, it really fucking matters. The president is just an actor. Like, it's just it's theater. The presidents of the world, or many of them are actors now. Like, it couldn't even be more fucking obvious. Like, the Ukrainian guy's a comedian. Trump was an actor. Like, yeah, he's a businessman. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what he says. But do you really think that it matters if he's president or not? Like, do you think that your life's going to be any different? A lot of it is just about putting the most bombastic people in there so that it absorbs a lot of your attention. It's just a theatre. The best thing that you could do is pay it no attention. But I know a lot of you will be captured in that snare. When election time comes, you'll be sitting there being like, oh, I'm so fucking angry. I can't, can you believe this fucking garbage? And yes, I can believe it, because it's going to get more and more that way. Like, it's more and more bombastic, more and more controversial, more and more like in your face. They're using the justice system as an attack dog on rival opponents and just dragging them through fucking the mud to muddy up their name, even if they're not guilty or they are guilty. Who really gives a fuck? Like, do you really think that corruption doesn't happen all the way through? Like, a lot of you guys, again, don't understand that people are just people. Like, you genuinely think that a lot of you will genuinely think that there's like good people and bad people in the world. Like, there's people that yes, there are people that are mentally disturbed, of course. There are people that can, you know, hurt kids or run around and, you know, go on a stabbing rampage and just kill 100 people for no reason. There are people that are disturbed, but you'll find for a lot of that, often there are substances involved. You know, yes, they're different because they're taking a lot of drugs. Yes, they're doing bad shit because they've got addictions or something like that, and it changes the way that their mind works, yes. But when we're talking about, you know, drug-free, stable people, they're just people. You know, a lot of you think that if you were a president that you wouldn't be corrupt. Like, you genuinely think that you would be this nice fucking dude that's just fair to everyone. You don't understand that corruption starts as just the fucking, like, smallest hair, and then it spreads. It can start in just a small thing of you're an important person, you get pulled over by the police, and then you tell them like who you are and that you expect different treatment because maybe you're a politician or something like that, and maybe you've had too much to drink or something like that, and now they're like, oh well, I don't want any trouble, so I'll just let this guy go. And now that's corruption. Like, that's corruption at a low level, and then it just spreads over time because they get more freedom and more access. And in the case of a lot of that stuff, they can't actually rise unless they're corrupt. Like, unless they're corrupted at a very early stage. There's one of these guys that's going through politics now. I think he's in the UK, is he? And he was, or maybe it's in the US. It's like a half dark skinned guy, and he was like on a Soros scholarship, and then he made, you know, I don't know, he's like 100M or something in like 10 years, worked in funding, and then they don't understand that a lot of those guys are incubated through the Soros scholarships and things like that. You know, they're just chosen, like they're interviewed, things like that, and they're chosen that, oh, all right, well, it'll essentially be like your dad. I don't think you guys have ever seen like the movie Departed, where it's got is it Jack Nicholson? And he's got maybe it is. And he's got the Matt Damon character. And he essentially incubates him through police academy. He sees the guy, sees that he has potential, he's quite smart. And he funds him to go through police academy and things like that, becomes a detective. And he essentially incubates him through that role, and then he starts spreading information back to him. They're, investigating him and things like that. And he gets insider information so that he can continue doing his crime. I mean, that's what incubation is. Like, that's what's happening at scale. They incubate them not in a way that this guy might not even be aware. I'm sure he knows that he has important people behind him. But in the case of someone asks me, do you think Peterson or someone like that is, an agent or something like that? No. You can't, a lot of you don't understand. You can't, even rising through the podcast circuit, you can't rise through if you have your own opinion. If there's a few topics that you can't talk about, which I've said. There's a certain religious group that you can't talk about without consequences. Even if Rogan or someone talks about them, he talks directly about how some of them own a large amount of infrastructure, specifically around finances and infrastructure that matters for such a minority of people. And, they have a lot of things, access to funding, and they have a lot of, pull and sway in those fields. If you start talking about the people who run the funds, or the people who are very high up in the funds, then you'll get cancelled. If you start doing a Kanye, he lost a big deal in fucking 2 minutes. And that's a person who was already very successful. And he didn't just lose a deal, he lost a deal that they were going to make money on. So they still burn him, just cause. So, yeah, even rising through the podcast circuits, I've discovered I've been gate-kept a ton, and that's fine. I don't care. That's just the way that it goes. That's what power is. If you can control parts of the infrastructure, you only put your friends on, or people that are going to toe the line, or you're not going to really platform anyone that could be a competitor. I mean, why would you? Just to get more clicks? It doesn't matter, because you'll get all the clicks anyway. It's like the bull story. If there's no one else but you when your boy's at the top, you'll get the views anyway. Like, you don't need to bring new people in. That's fine. It's like, why would I fuck one when you can fuck them all over time? You eventually end up controlling the very narrative, but also controlling a lot of the large platforms, and the audience and things like that. And you can't rise up, because a lot of the guys, and essentially if you go on the absolute massive podcasts or journos, things like that, you need connections. And connections is bigger than just having an audience. You need people who are going to put you in, essentially put you on, sign off on you. And not only sign off on you, but you have to sign off on a lot of bullshit. Like I like Myron on Fresh and Fit. I've met them both, I would say, a few times. Fresh is a hard worker. He's doing well. He's entertaining. I think that they have a good dynamic going on. I would say that Myron's much more of the serious guy, and Fresh is a good talker. Like, he's more, I guess, a bit lighter. He can talk to more people. Like, he's someone, they bounce off each other well. I think Myron's more the serious business type, and Fresh is good at bouncing around and talking to people. Like, people like to be around him. He's entertaining as well. He's a funny guy. And yeah, but I watch that show, and I don't watch it much, but I've seen a few clips or something like that. And some of the guys, these red pill guys and things like that. I watched one just recently that had this like fat dude with tits, and he's talking down to women. He's a black guy, he's Donovan, and he is the fat fucking dude with fucking man tits, and he's just talking to women like shit. That doesn't help. Talking over them, not respecting them, but expecting respect, and speaking as though he speaks for all men, and just generally being like buffoon, and also thinks that it's masculine to run women over, to degrade them. You're on a public platform. It's not going to get guys anywhere to just fight with women on such a big platform. A platform that sculpts the very view of how many guys view women. It doesn't really help to just yell at them and treat them badly and, act like, You think masculinity is just treading on women, and it's not. You know, like, a lot of the time it's much the opposite. You know, you can't have a debate or a talk or something like that and just run the other person over. You know, and it's not masculine, because it's like you've all been brought on to talk, and you just shout, and you have a louder voice, so now you can just shout over them, and you don't care. You know, you're not even going to listen to them, you're just going to yell at them. And then, as though this guy speaks for everyone, and he's got fucking tits. I saw another thing that they did, and they showed like the guy was yelling at like 20-year-old girls, saying how they weren't shit, and then he had some fucking old fat bag next to him. They looked like some fucking two that I would see on the street here. Looked fucking like some whale. It looked like she was like a 50-pound bag of cement crushed in a fucking 2-pound bag. It's a fucking mess. It's sloppy and just disgusting. And then this is guy sitting next to his whale, and then he's talking terrible to 20-year-old girls about how they ain't shit. And he's with some old fucking bag. Like, it's just bad optics, you know. These are the same guys that will tell you, oh, you gotta, you know, women are fucking pumped and dumped by the time they're 30 years old. And he's rolling with some fucking old bag that was way older than that. Look like complete shit. So, and again, I don't want to run this girl over. I mean, I'm not saying that she is a bad person. I don't know her. But you can't be that fucking tone deaf. Like, you can't stand there and be the very guy that you're like talking shit about. You know, some of these masculinity guys or red pill guys or all that stuff, it was so easy for me to just see through them. You know, when I first started a year ago saying that it was garbage, that was, red pill was fucking hot as shit. And now people are getting a lot more aware. You know, now it's popular to say that it's shit. Like, say that it's trash, and the guys are fucking in that space are spurgs. You know, because that's the truth. A lot of them, if they have anything, it's only because they've essentially funded, like, profited off that Ponzi, you know, profited off that pyramid scheme. The revenue has moved to the top. In some way, they have monetized it, you know, and monetized it often off the misery of young guys. You know, it's guys will pay money. I never understand the business model, but guys will pay money, put super chats in, just to degrade a chick. Like, you're really reading out that they ain't shit, but why are you watching if they ain't shit? Like, who the fuck are you? You know, you can't degrade someone unless you're willing to put yourself behind it. You know, it's like being an add-on. If you're an add-on and you say that someone's ugly or something like that, you fucking have to present yourself like that's the way that men work. You know, to have a voice, you have to be public. You know, this isn't, like, that's the very essence of being a man. Like, you have to stand behind what you say. Some of you are fucking too scared to even stand behind, like, what you say, and then you think that, like, you're not going to get pushed around by the government. You can't even stand up and speak. Like, you can't even have a public photo online and be like, and maybe for some of you, it's because you're not perfect. I mean, I've had times where I was fucking fat, you know, fat as fuck. I had a forum account where I was the same thing. I had a bodybuilding.com account. It took me maybe 6 months or 12 months on there before I put a photo. And that was back when everyone had photos. That was back when it was popping. Bodybuilding.com misc was like 4chan in its glory days. You know, it was popping like crazy. It was great. And yeah, it took me probably 6 to 12 months to have a photo on there because I was a fat fuck. You know, when I first joined on there, I was 260 pounds. Oh, wow. You know, so it took me a considerable amount of time to get my shit together. But I eventually put a photo up and it made me accountable. I thought every time I posted something that this person sees me. I can't fuck around and troll because I'm not perfect. Like, I don't have my shit together, and they're going to see that because they're going to look at my photo and be like, oh, this guy's still chubby. Like, who the fuck is he to talk shit? He doesn't have his shit together at all either. So, but that's part of the growth. Like, that's how you grow. You stand there and say, I'm not perfect, but that's how you get better because you're now standing behind what you say. Like, you now got to a degree, a spotlight on you. And then it gets bigger and bigger as you get more public. You know, like I'll walk around here, I'll take the car out. I'll take the car out and drive out. Always people are videoing, like probably every day. I'll drive the car out and someone in the very fucking car park will film me driving out. I probably get 10 or 20 times someone will film me just driving in a trip for like 40 minutes or more. You know, it's the thing. People upload them online. They have car spotters here and people like that, and people tag me in it. So I'm accountable all the time. Like, I'm fucking there. Like, I'm visible. It's part of why there's a massive energy absorption if you drive a supercar. You know, it's part of why it charges you. It's part of why the attention of I don't know, imagine at the high scale, like The Weeknd or something like that. He is absorbing a lot of energy. Again, part of why I don't go to concerts, because I don't want to give another man my, like, that much concentrated attention. You know, it's like a hero worship. I don't think that that's a good thing. It's not something that really is going to get you ahead. That's why I don't watch a lot of sport, even UFC. I used to watch UFC when it was UFC like 5 something. It was fucking like Tank used to fight back then, and even well before that. You know, the old UFC. I used to watch that. And now it's just so fucking like mainstream. You know, every man and his dog watches it. It's still cool, but it's kind of like peaked. It's the bubble is topped out with McGregor. And yeah, of course it will still do well and things like that, but there's not a lot of ways that they can go. You know, they can't really get a lot bigger. Like, I don't know how they would get more market share. They already have a lot. So, I mean, every man and his dog knows who fucking like even more niche fighters are. So, yeah. Absorbing energy is a real thing. You have to be able to do it. You have to stand behind what you say. You have to build a brand. I'm not saying that you need to be a guy pumping out content again, because that's in a bubble. You know, every man and his dog is again pumping out content. They don't really have anything to say. You know, some guys just talking fucking shit, parroting a bunch of crap. You know, they're not talking about anything related to themselves. And they don't understand that there's multiple types of an audience. You can have an audience as a chimp, yes, like a performing monkey, fucking splashing water on your face. You can degrade yourself on camera and crap like that, yes. But there's different types of quality of audience. You know, I would rather just have a bunch of guys that are fucking solid as an audience than have 1 million subs of fucking dweebs that, like, you know, just worship me because they don't see me for exactly as I am. You know, they've got, like, you know, some sort of hero thing going on. They see you as a character, not as a person. I would think that, you know, the people that watch me, I enjoy it. You know, I do get a lot of value out of it. I think that it's a good thing to pump out content, yes, but it's not something that everyone should do, and it's not something that everyone can do. You know, a very concept that a guy who maybe he works for the government, or he lives in Australia, or he's just a tradesman or something and he has a boss. The very concept that he can just jump on and speak his mind to the whole fucking world, that's not really a thing. You know, what you say will have consequences for you. If you're not at a point of fuck you yet, you have to be very careful with what you say. Like, people think that they're, just because they have an opinion, or, like, you know, they have ideas and things like that, that they can just express them and there'll be no consequences to it. That's fucking dumb. Like, that's fucking so naive. You know, it's only a thing that you can express your ideas in a first world country. You know, a lot of you, if you went to, let's say, China, Saudi, parts of the Middle East, parts of, I guess, even like Israel, other places like that, you can't just speak your fucking mind. You can't just speak freely and say a bunch of garbage. Because if you offend the government or say things, you know, you might have controversial takes about religion, or controversial ideas that upset the government in some way, or upset people like locals in some way. You know, you go through parts of Eastern Europe, it can be dangerous. You know, you upset people, you can get fucked. Like, you can get put in prison, you can get killed. Like, people die for that sort of shit, they go missing. You know, so you can't just run on and think that there's not going to be consequences to it. And if you talk about shit in the West, maybe you're completely against feminism, maybe you're completely against, you know, like, I don't know, the trans stuff, all that sort of stuff. Maybe you're completely against the brainwashing of kids that they do in a lot of the West. Like, public school is like an indoctrination camp, I've said that. And maybe you're completely against that. But if you think that you can just turn the camera on and start talking openly, and that you should just be able to talk because you just should, that's fucking dumb. Like, that's not going to have the effect that you think that it will. Like, you think that it's going to be a freeing thing and that everyone's going to like you, and a lot of people won't. And if you have a boss and things like that, they can be leveraged to fire you. You know, it's not that your boss might agree with you completely, but he'll lose business. Like, they can easily publicly drag you and then out you online and like, you know, dox you and post your job and things like that. And the cancel culture and people that matter can call your boss or call people in the government, things like that, and get you fired, get you fucked over, get you deplatformed from the banks. And that's now. Like, that's only going to be worse in years' time. So you have to think of what you say online. You know, it's very hard to... I made my TikToks and things like that, and I think to a degree I was pretty controversial. You know, like a lot of the stuff I said about fat women and things like that got my account shadow banned. You know, I said that I would never hook up with a fat chick, and I got, I think, 4 strikes in like 2 seconds, like, you know, few days, and they shadow banned my account. I went from getting like 50K to 1 million views on videos to like 1,000, you know, so they fucked my whole account up. My account went to 120K and then in the last 6 months or something, now it's like 119K. It's gone backwards. So they've completely nuked my account. That's the game. You know, a lot of the things now, a lot of the other influencers and things like that have pivoted, and they have a lot of this soft boy, like Hallmark card approach. Like, oh, I'm just going to run around and use people for clout. Like, you know, show me shaking hands with guys, and oh, I'm going down to the shop and I'm going to buy people crap. You know, like, it's this like Hallmark card shit. That's just virtue signaling. That's just like using people to get attention for yourself. You know, like running around buying guys drinks and crap like that, and then filming it. It's like filming guys giving money to the homeless and then showing their face as you give them a $50 bill. Like, that's degrading. Like, that's not shit that is fucking good. And that's like peak narcissism behavior. That's almost like being a sociopath. Like, you're leveraging another person who's in need just to get attention. Which I guess is part of the game. But I think that showing their face and things like that, it's very extreme, especially if it's a guy, because it's very degrading. It doesn't really help anyone either when you give homeless people money, especially if they're guys. I'll never donate to a fucking homeless dude on the street. They should work. The only time I would donate to a homeless person, and I have, or a bum or something, is if they're very injured. Like if a guy's really fucked up, like missing a leg or something like that, I do donate, give him money or something, because I mean, like, life's hard. I can understand that now, that you can't work because you're badly injured. But I'll see guys running up to me and fucking ask for money, and I'm like, I'll sometimes just say, like, why are you not at work? Like, what are you doing? Your fucking job is to beg? Like, you're a beggar? Is that all you fucking were good for in this life? Like, what the fuck, where were you when I needed shit? You know, so why the fuck am I here for you? You know, like, this is not, life is about the value exchange. You know, if you teach your kids to beg, that's the fucking disaster. Like, that is so bad, because you're conditioning them in their life and their outcomes are completely out of their control. You're teaching someone that they ask for shit, but that person can say no. So their financial, like, life and things like that are relying on another person. Instead of when they work, I do X, I get Y. It's not, that's a certainty. You know, like, if you're working for a person, I mean, yes, they can fuck you over, but it's very unlikely if you're doing a job. You know, I do X, I get Y. I understand that because that's a transaction. But now if I beg and maybe I get paid, that's out of your control. I've said it before. If you're a person who's in a job that's relying on, like, you know, good graces, you're in a job that's relying on tips, you're in a job that's relying on other people, you're fucked. Like, in the future, there's going to be a lot less of that shit. Like, people are going to have a lot less money and a lot less, you know, to just be giving out, like, be gracious, you know, have good manners and just tip everyone. That's going to be less of a thing in the future. Those jobs are heading to zero, because that's just the way that the world's heading. People have less expendable income, they have less money to do that sort of crap, they're not as connected. But I do see a lot of these influences, things like that. A lot of it's a lot of crazy virtue signaling. You know, a lot of it's like, oh, everything is haram. Like, have a drink and, oh, it's haram. But I'm not even Muslim. Like, I respect the culture and I respect Muslims, things like that. But I'm not that religion. So I'm not in that, like, thing. That's not me. You know, I respect them, I respect the culture, I respect their religion, things like that. But yeah, again, that's not me. So people are they can try to hold others to a standard that they don't even live in. You know, that's not me. You know, so a lot of that stuff, again, is crazy. Like, it's virtue signaling, it's all of this crap, it's, you know, judgment, but then often judgment from people who are not in a position to judge others. You know, like a sinner cannot judge another sinner. I mean, that's common sense. Like that's a lot of you judge people who sin differently to you, but don't understand that everyone's a sinner. Like the very concept that the priest or someone is some fucking good boy. Everyone is the same. Like I said, everyone has both good and bad in them. You know, that's the way that we were designed. If we weren't meant to be that way, it wouldn't be fucking, we wouldn't be. It's not a thing that's just happened. Like, it's always been that way. Do you think that it's normal to, like, you know, murder is the thing? Like, it's always existed? Do you think that it's normal to just kill people and have, like, a sadistic enough side to be able to do it? But that's just the way that we were designed. You know, a lot of you who only live in the, like, you know, only acknowledge that light, and you reject the darkness that exists in yourself, you try to hide it, you're ashamed of it. Some of you fucking just watch porn and crap and don't understand that that's fucking really shit. Like, that's up there with some of the worst shit because it's bad for you. It's bad for your mind, but it's also teaching you to be an observer. Like, you're watching other people have sex. Some of you watch porn and then feel really guilty and stuff like that because other people tell you that you're like some fucking scumbag. So it makes you feel bad. And that's a vicious cycle. You know, you can't quit something by feeling terrible when you do it. Like guilt itself, it can become an emotion that's addictive. It's still an emotion. You know, what you don't face, what you try to hide from, expands. And that's how a lot of these guys become fucking like porn fiends. They ignore the fucking thing in themselves for so long and then they end up doing it heaps more. It's like gambling. You know, I always go back to gambling because I have had a gambling habit myself. You know, you have to acknowledge these things to fucking get past them. It's the way it goes.